Mana.
Do you know what? You've always remembered it as teep, teepy, teepy. There may never have been teep, teep. I think you invented that. Do you think I did? I think you dreamt that. One of us has a fever dream where the words teep, teepy, teepy creep up. Anyway, hiya, Jimmy.
How you doing, Socks? How's good?
We are all the better for seeing you.
Enjoying talking to you so much, but I better actually introduce you and say hello and welcome to Backbone Bites, very special episode with one of my favourite acts in comedy, the Scottish Falsetto Sock Puppet Theatre. How you doing? How's doing, guys? You alright?
Oh man, so is he. Do you know, I just realised there's a bloke down there behind us, and every now and again he keeps popping up. What I don't think he realises is, if he looks up at the camera's looking down at him. You idiot, stay there! Sorry, you're alright, just don't move.
And so...
That bloke down there going off your head. Don't forget about the bloke going off your head. You don't know how this is done and don't pretend you do. Sorry, Jimmy, you're saying.
Sorry, I'll just let you talk for a bit. Well, you probably remember that you were on my podcast a few years ago, We'll Lockdown How We Laughed.
Oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
Oh, lockdown had a good lockdown. We did have a good lockdown. We had a great lockdown. I hope everybody had a good lockdown. Oh, he's celebrating the anniversary of the lockdown every day myself.
And now we've been back gigging in real life for about 4 years. It doesn't make any sense to me, but we've been gigging a lot over the past few years, so I thought
I'm hoping, optimistically, you've got over the 1 year you weren't allowed to perform. I mean, we actually enjoyed it because we did a novel kind of gig, because we did the Zoom gigs.
Yeah.
I actually loved the Zoom gigs because, hello camera all the way over there, if you get the camera really up close, our set is the shape of a computer screen. So it was like we were on the telly. So for 6 months we were doing all these shows. It was fantastic. We could do anything we liked, we had digital backgrounds and we had control of all the music, and we had a sitting duck audience who would turn up for everything. Come June of 2021, they all buggered off and found something better to do. We had a good time putting those shows on, but they were the blip. They were the exception.
I've got some bad news for you though, Socks, because your eyes are obviously made of something that's not biological. And you never actually seen any of those people, did you?
Well, that's true. That is true. We had to imagine they were there. Yeah, I mean, obviously they were keeping quiet out of respect. Oh yeah, God, imagine if they laughed out loud. We'd have just been thrown off our game. But no, we like to think there was dozens of them.
All I'm going to say is it's a curse that you don't have eyes, but a blessing that you never saw your quote-unquote audience in Zoom.
Yeah, that would have probably been a bit too much, looking down people's hallways, having a man in his pants scratching himself.
No,
Again, that's your fever dream, isn't it? What was he saying as he was scratching himself? He was saying teep, teepy, teepy, you see?
So how have you found the return to live gigs then, going back out into the world and gigging?
Well, it was just the return to normal. That's been the fine thing, is that everything has kind of reverted, and it took a wee while, I think, for audiences to get back up to the level that they were at, but they have been, and our most recent gigs have been lovely big sellouts again.
Yeah.
And so that's grand.
I heard that you done WonderCon.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, last year in Glasgow we did WonderCon. Do you not remember WonderCon? Was that the one with the weirdos? That was the one with the 500 weirdos in a room. God, the number of leather jackets and ponytails. I know there was a lot of that. It's like a World of Leather convention. It was a bit like that. But yeah, WorldCon is a big sci-fi convention. Lots of international guests. And they invited us and we performed our show Superheroes. Our biggest crowd probably our biggest crowd ever, probably.
Yeah, I've got a couple of friends that saw you there and they said it was a really good show, they really enjoyed it. And you can actually get to see that, I think, on the WonderCon website.
Oh, you can get to see it on the WonderCon website if you got a WonderCon ticket and a WonderCon pass. I don't think the public can see it.
Oh.
I was hoping I was going to get sent it, and so was I, and so was he. We were hoping we were going to get sent it, but we've not had it yet, so I've kept a browser window open for 6 months.
I actually know a man who's got it, Kev.
Well,
Socks. Sorry.
Let's have a wee word when we're not being recorded by a camera and maybe breaking into national production rules. But yeah, we wouldn't mind that.
Excellent. So what other kind of gigs have you done since the summer?
The big thing is Edinburgh. Everybody builds up to doing the Edinburgh Fringe. You probably know this. You probably all do it yourself. Probably everybody who watches Jimi's things is somebody who puts a show on at Edinburgh Fringe. But the Edinburgh Fringe is a big deal, and you prepare for the start of the year and you're building up to it. And we've just decided we couldn't afford to do it this year.
Yeah.
And that's affected the number of gigs we do in 2025 because we're not doing Edinburgh preview gigs.
So you're not coming up to Edinburgh for the
Well, it's
day?
it's the cost. And the thing is, sorry, this is really boring. People don't encourage you. We're a comedy act. We don't usually waffle on. I mean, I love waffling on about the behind-the-scenes stuff, but this is green room shit, and this is the most boring green room shit you get as well. By the way, usually you're slagging people off. I don't know anything about anybody about everyone else. And so this is the backstage jiggery pokery of people who put a show on, and it's all about your budgets, it's all about your return on investment, it's all about your break even. It's boring as shit. We better change the subject. They're tuning out in droves. I've not even had a word in. No, the one who does the punchlines hasn't had a thing to say for 2 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just look at some of the gigs you've been doing over the past 4 years?
Hey, that'd be good.
Excellent, man. Alright, then. Cool. Let's start the slideshow.
3, 2, 1.
And here we go with the first picture. It's the man downstairs that I don't think you've ever seen before because he's always been behind you.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'd like to put in a word for him and his hair, because his hair looks better than that when he hasn't just been sweating and sitting in a chair wiggling his hands above his head for half an hour.
This was at Nottingham Comedy Festival. I think November 2021.
Right.
It's the first time I actually met you guys in person.
The Nottingham, that was an interesting one. Just like Edinburgh, they put a lot of shows in rooms where you wouldn't normally put shows in. I think we were in the window of a shop.
Yeah, Carousel. The Carousel was the
like
venue, yeah.
That's what it is, yeah. Funny thing, but that's no wonderful. I love that. I love the romance of putting shows on in funny little bits of the world where otherwise they might be derelict.
Yeah, I really like the comedy festival. I was only there for 1 weekend. I think it was on for a month, but I was only there for like the sort of Sounds Proper strand of the festival. It was at the Carousel, and
oh, hello. Okay, now this is where it's really embarrassing. Do we know her?
yes, Maeve. That's Maeve Boffey.
Hello, Maeve. Oh God, Maeve, you've been on the show. You've been on our show. Hello, Maeve. No, Maeve was fantastic. Yes, Maeve was on our Zoom shows.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did. And the thing is, when we perform with real people, there's something about the nature of us being blinded by the lights. We can't see the people who's in front of the set. There was one fella, John Bishop, and we were on a gig with him at the Leicester Comedy Festival in 2009 it was, and he emceed this whole show. So we're a bit hidden behind our set. We listen to him doing 20 minutes, and then we pop up, we do our set, and then he does all these links. So been on stage with John Bishop for about an hour, and then met him later in the year, and it wasn't until he started speaking and said, "Oh, you've got a really," because he's got a pretty recognisable voice.
Yeah, John. Aye.
But I'd never seen his face till then. I'm sorry, Maeve. We had a
That's okay. And that's somebody else getting a selfie with you, because that's the only photos I could find from that weekend were people taking selfies with the socks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a podcast that we like to call the shittest pictures that you'll ever look at for this length of time. You know when you go around an art gallery and there'll be a piece of work that's cost £500,000, and you look at it for about 2 seconds, you move on. And yet you have been looking at this picture here for very nearly a minute. And then what you do, it starts to take on the qualities of a work of art. Suddenly, you're looking at that composition and you're thinking, hey, look at the way he's positioned, that woman looking down, that woman looking across, and that woman looking up. And what that is, that's actually the golden section. That's the Renaissance principle of dividing up a picture. And then the fella up in the top right-hand section, you see how his head is in the top third, and his body occupies the bottom right third. And that's been deliberate. It's not, it's bullshit. So whenever, look at the composition on that one. Actually, that is pretty good. Although, I don't know, somehow a head has appeared between the two of us. How does it do that? I don't know how it does that.
Well, I remember coming a wee bit behind there at that gig. That was in the Fringe in 2022. Is it the TV? Is that the venue? The TV? Is that what it's called?
2022?
2022, yeah.
I think we were at Paterhouse.
Paterhouse?
Were we not
Yeah.
at Paterhouse?
Is Paterhouse the one off
Paterhouse
South
is
Bridge?
the one that used to be Adam House. Well, for the rest of the year it's called Adam House, which is down opposite the museum.
Well, I don't know. The Fringe 2022 in a venue. I came round and tried to get a photograph, and Kev, no, tried to get a photograph of Kev, and
Oh,
you guys
Jimi.
gave me into trouble.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No,
That's Eurovision Song Contest. That's
It's the
fine.
Eurovision Song Contest. It's 2022. 2022. It's the big old university building near the square, near Bristol Square.
Sorry, I just punched my microphone there. Anybody listening who just sounded like they got punched in the ears, you've been tangled. That was the microphone that we Socks are wearing.
And that's the same show.
We're sharing a mic. That's why you're not hearing both of our voices in stereo. A lot of people think we've got very distinctively different voices until they kind of see our faces and they realise, wait a minute, are you identical? We're identical twin Socks, yeah. Anyway, that's a square.
That's the same gig at Bristol Square, whatever the venue was called.
Yeah.
And that's a picture of you guys. So I actually seen your preview. So it wasn't that busy, but it was like early on in the run. I think it might have even been the 31st of July. But I love getting the photographs.
I'm saying, Pat, was it TV that we did that
It's
year?
TV. I think it was TV.
Cancer House was 2019. God, these years blur together.
The venues and the Fringe. If I haven't spent an entire summer there, I don't know the name of the place.
It's wonderful though, walking around Edinburgh as I have been tonight, seeing those places that we've played in the past. Cabaret Voltaire, or Cabaret, whatever they call it now, down Blair Street.
Yeah.
That was where, before we were the Socks, we got involved with a sketch show called The Sitcom Trials, and it performed there in 2001 and
Whoa.
2002. And then the offices of the Gilded Balloon were there along Cowgate, and 2002 is the year they burnt down.
Right.
So we probably would have owed them money if we hadn't done that. So we didn't do that well.
So where were you when this fire started?
Luckily, we were well away by then. But yeah, the venues we played. And then when we came back 2004, we did somewhere up Nidri Street,
Right.
which is just near where we're recording this. And yeah, no, it's great to walk past these places.
See, nobody ever thinks to interview pairs of socks about starting fires.
Well, the thing with it, we Socks is also, if you've come to the Fringe every year since 2007, which was our first year, you'll have seen us on the posters. Our big faces have been on posters, and the first year we came up, 2007, they used to fly post you, which meant these guys with a bucket and a whole load of glue would stick you on. We were stuck on some church doors. We were staying in Lauriston Place or Lauriston Gardens, and there's a church down there, and they covered vandalism, absolute vandalism. It became very much frowned upon, and in fact, it was illegal. And there was also the building site, which is now a great big hotel just off Lauriston Place. And we got our posters, big A2 posters, were all over those places. It was very Wild West. Just as recently as 2007, 2008, the way that they used to get your posters stuck up all over Edinburgh, and our faces were big and stuck up with glue.
And we're moving on again. That's the same year, but it's actually my show, Trigger Warnings, in Boteco do Brazil, where you were playing to upwards of 9 people.
That's right, that was a fun gig to do. It's always fun to do these extra gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for us because we get a big audience when we're doing our regular show, and you do these other shows so that people will come along and see your show. But yeah, usually it is the case that when we do guest shows, we do them to a smaller crowd than our home show.
But it was a really good mix. I can't remember exactly who was on that night, but there's another photograph towards in a couple of minutes anyway that'll tell us who was on. I think Bob Walsh had been doing it. I think Maeve was on that night as well.
Maeve. God, I'm sorry, I didn't recognise you.
I'm going to phone her tonight and tell her. You think you're memorable, Maeve? That even a pair of socks can remember you.
Well, see, that's the thing with the Fringe programme and the photos as well, because we, from the early days when we started performing, was when they started putting photos in the brochure, when you used to choose your photos in the brochure. And we really stuck out because we're a couple of sock puppets, because you'd look at the page and it would be bloke with a microphone, occasional woman with a microphone, and then another bloke with a microphone, and then a pair of socks. So we really stood out for a while.
And I think that's the entire audience in that one.
Oh, there you go. So that's 2019. That's the year we were doing a show called Roll Up, which was all about.
No, that's the trigger warning still.
Yeah. No, but this you see
Roll Up.
Our sign there.
Right.
The Scottish Falsetto Sock Puppy Theatre Roll Up. The best thing about that show, I think, was the title, and I think we were the only people who thought that was funny. The socks roll up. Do you see how that joke works? We are sock and we roll up. Fuck off, it's hilarious.
I guess you had to be there. So that's actually from a previous show, the roll-up sign. I remember everybody loving you. I remember Bob Walsh in particular was very, very happy to be performing with you, and then told me a story about taking LSD when he performed with you years ago. That's the Star Wars section of the show.
Yeah. The Star Wars routine was part of our third show, I think, that we did. 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 were our first shows we did in a row, and we sort of doubled the audience every year on year. And you know what? That's actually the most successful we've ever been. Ever since then, we've sort of stayed at the same level. That exponential growth stopped after the first 4 years. I don't know why that is. We'll never know.
I have to say,
they've not really shrunk, but they've not got bigger and bigger.
It's always my favourite part of the show. Star Wars is always, I mean, I'm a massive Star Wars fan, but it's always my favourite part of the show. What I'm saying is, I think essentially you should just work for Disney and just do Star Wars all the time now.
Yeah, when you write something like this, and if you've not seen our show, the Star Wars routine is on YouTube. Just put Scottish Falsetto Socks and Star Wars. And the recording of our Star Wars routine is actually from a live performance. God.
And that's everybody that was on the lineup that night. There's yourself, there's Kev. I mean, you guys are in the picture, I guess, on Kev's t-shirt. Jurgen, Odysseia, James Grant, Nick Cheng back there, Silas Shabalks, and Bob Walsh, and Alex Leam. I'm sure Maeve was on that night, so she must have just run away before the photograph was taken.
Yeah, and there's that handsome man who sits behind our set, and it's so weird. I, looking at this, cannot imagine our voice coming from that face. Because he looks like a bloke who's going to have a really quite deep voice. He's going to look quite rattled with age, I should imagine, by now. He looks like he's got a smoker's cough, doesn't he?
I mean, nobody
look at the cheekbones on that.
I don't want.
It looks like something out of Train Spotting.
I don't want to be rude, but nobody wants to think their dad is a sissy. But I mean, come on.
Look at that.
So we're moving on. That's Glasgow International Comedy Festival, where you done a Zoom gig in a venue.
We Zoomed it.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how that went. I think we could hear the audience.
Yeah. They loved you, man. They loved you. I mean, all
and we
12
were
of them.
doing. Now you probably can't make up that out the prop. Hello, me. I'm the one on the left. I'm holding a magazine. Oh no, it's supposed to be Prince Harry's book.
Yeah.
And so we did the front cover of Prince Harry's book, and then we mocked up his big baldy head from the back, big bald head of Prince Harry on the back. It was a good-looking prop. It's kind of washed out on the Zoom screen, isn't it?
There was actually a photograph of the tech in the venue in McCool's. Peter Bum, and you guys were given, as was your right, as part of a festival show, giving Peter tech instruction over Zoom as yourselves, as the puppets, and he just could not get his head around the fact that he was being instructed by two sentient socks over the internet. But if anybody's been to my shows, you'll know I loved it.
Look at that! I think that just looks amazing. I really would love to do more of those Zoom shows and have a sitting crowd audience, but I really don't know if it works when you're in the room. If you're in a room with an audience, and anybody who goes to comedy shows, you kind of know this. You're in a room with the crowd, and the interaction, the to and fro, the instantaneousness of it all is the magic of comedy, and not just for sock puppets. Obviously, this is for stand-up comedy as well. And that was the thing with Zoom. The distance really did make a difference. I mean, that's why comedy on telly is often not as good as, and there's loads of comedians. And you've seen this, Jimmy. You've seen comedians, you've seen them live, and then you'll see them on telly, and you'll have to tell your mates, you say, no, I promise you he was good. No, I tell you he was good. And he was. But on here, it all goes. It all goes because of that distance.
And that's the same gig, bigger ones. It may actually have been a different night, because I think you've done a couple of nights.
Yeah, no, I seem to remember that fella was sat there both nights, slap bang in the middle. He didn't move. Every night he came back, said, that's my seat. And he wouldn't let anyone sit anywhere near him, night after night. He was there all week.
Yeah. It would have been good to see. A lot of people thought that Zoom and live gigs would meld or something. That they would be. You've not really been able to. You've not really seen that. It works well for the socks.
Because you'd think there'd be unobtainable acts, like Americans say, or Australians, international acts, and you get them on your stage, and nobody cares about it. Nobody
Yeah,
wants that.
it's like, I mean, it proves your point even more that it needs to be in person and the connection, the
Yeah.
human connection on a stage. You know,
Yeah.
another problem with TV editing, I think, as well, they edit so much of people's sets out
Yeah.
that it doesn't work as a cohesive whole. The same
Well,
way.
I'll tell you what really sums that up is when you get Alan Sugar on The Apprentice and he's on a screen and you think, oh, he's just fucking dialing it in. It's not real. Okay, who are we here?
And this is the cabaret, the One Dazzling Cabaret at the Fringe 2024.
2024. We
Yeah,
performed 2 gigs in one night. That was our entire Edinburgh 2024.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was the backstage, and we're looking at. Oh no, I can't remember his name. I see Los de Lagoon there. Alison and Charmaine and Suze, but I've forgotten their stage names, which I've often done on stage when I was hosting the shows.
Well, there's the fella at the back. He's not looking quite so handsome there. He's looking quite exhausted.
Quite scared. That's probably the size of the audience. There was 120 people
that was
every night.
That was a really big crowd.
And we had that every night. I don't tend to bring that up much, but
that was brilliant. That was really well organised.
Yeah. And there you are performing in the world famous Three Sisters stage live room.
Yeah, that was good. 2 very good gigs. I'm so pleased to do them.
Yeah. Aye, they were a lot of fun. And I don't know what to say about them other than that we're back this year. We're doing 6:45 and 8 p.m. in the Three Sisters.
Well, I'll tell you what is likely. It's likely that those guesting at your gigs might be the sort of thing that the Sox would be able to do this year.
Is that a fact?
Short of doing their own show.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
we'll definitely have you on.
What we can do is we can come in for a night and we can do a couple of gigs and we can go away again.
Excellent.
What we don't think we can do is stay for a week and a half and put in our own show for a month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe a short run, but I don't know. You can talk about that another time. But well, you're more than welcome to come back because everybody in the show loved you. The acts loved you. My co-promoter Sam loved you. Obviously, I love you because I'll fucking always get you on this podcasts. And we want you to come.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What you're looking at there, folks, is our Michael Jackson's Earth Song routine, which is a real. I mean, you can imagine. You know how old the song Michael Jackson's Earth Song is, yeah. So that routine is older than us. The Scottish Falsetto Sock Puppet Theatre started doing this routine, which had previously been done by the bloke you've seen in the T-shirt, the old bloke, and he did it just as a stand-up. But we do it. And we hold up the lyrics of Michael Jackson's Earth Song, and it's funny.
Does that go so that predates the Sox?
It predates the Sox.
Yeah.
It was 2005, I think. It's 2006. It's 2006 because the record is 2006 when it appeared on. I think the routine is 2006.
Right.
It is.
Cool.
And then one of the lines that we do when we're introducing it is we refer to Michael Jackson as the people's paedophile. And do you know where that came from? That came from a conversation with Janie Godley.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
It's a bit of I always think about Janie when we're doing that.
Right.
Because we were just sat around and we were in a pub and we were talking about Michael Jackson. And it was when Michael Jackson was big in the news, 2009, 2010, whenever he was being people saying he's done this. And everyone was saying who's going to get off and it didn't get arrested. Right. And Janie saying, yeah, but I wouldn't have him babysit. And I came up with a line, he's the people's paedophile.
Oh, excellent. It sounds like Janie as well. Well, this is the curtain call for the Three Sisters shows where actually you're actually where you should be, right in front of the man downstairs, right in front of Kev there, both of you guys.
Do you know what? It doesn't look like he belongs to us, does he? I thought that was somebody else stood behind him.
Yeah.
Oh God, look at his eyes, like thistles in snow.
Kristen Moody, Alison and Los Duggan again, Suze, Charmaine.
He looks like an old man who's wearing a death mask.
Okay, and that's the later on show. That's Stags Woodward and Joe.
Okay. Photos that I hate. Number 22. Oh, look at that. He's got an angry face on. He's got a face of, oh, bloody hell, why is that not going in there? Oh, no, don't help me. Just bugger off.
It could be he would look slightly less angry if I wasn't sitting across the room with a fucking camera as well.
Oh, yeah. No, you don't ever want to see the behind the scenes stuff. You know when they're telling you the stories about Mariah Carey and she says I don't do stairs, and Diana Ross and she's throwing a phone at people. It's because when you're getting ready to be on stage and be nice, you use up all your nice energy, and then when you're faffing around backstage and it's like, oh, where's my hair clips? And you pull a face like that. It's just momentary. You're only human.
That's the only reason I invited you to do that show, was just to
Watch
put you
me
in a
being
compromising position.
miserable.
Yeah. Back to the Star Wars.
Very
Always with the Star Wars.
very- Well, can we just say that the fella sat behind us, wiggling his hands in the air, he looks quite nice. When you see him, when he's not all sweaty, when you see him when he's not all haggard, he's an all right chap.
You only look
He
haggard.
doesn't look like a strange lurking pedo, which is what he's looked like. Half of these photos, I'm thinking, I've seen that on Crime Watch.
Your dad looks so haggard because he puts so much work into bringing you guys to life, and I thoroughly respect that, because, as I said, a lot of the time you're one of my favourite acts going. Very different and very fun, very interesting.
Yeah, I guess what this behind the scenes glimpse does hammer home is the fact that it does take a fair bit of work to put on a show like the Scottish Falsetto Soap Opera Theatre. I mean, we try to make it as ramshackle looking as we can. We try to make it look as amateurish as is humanly possible. You wouldn't believe how much effort that takes.
It's always a great show. They loved you in there as well. That was Pear Tree.
Yeah, that's
Like I
good.
say, it was Stags and Joe's show. The Bite, the late Bite. It's a really nice room. I was actually talking to Alex today, Alex Petty, about doing the cabaret in that room today, and I don't think I could do the cabaret in that room. It's too, couldn't get the dancers in.
Ah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was tight for space, yeah.
Yeah, so we're shooting for maybe the Counting House. I don't know if that's talking shop too much, but I just looking at it and thinking I can't see the dancers being able to get in.
Yeah. And then if we want to talk some more shop, what you're seeing there, viewer, is you're seeing a bit of the set you're not supposed to see. Just to stage left or your right, by the letter T of festival, you can see the little white metal bit sticking up, which should be covered by a wee bit of tartan material, but it's not. It shows you that is in fact the clothes hanging rail
And that's
IKEA.
that's like one of the cartoons where the long lost brother turns up. Yeah, that was the next act that Jack Kelly put on a sock in his
He
hand.
did a sock. I hugged
Yeah,
him.
I've got to say they didn't take to Jack and his sock as much as you guys. Love you, Jack, but yeah, man, stick to not doing sock comedy. There's only one socks, or two socks rather, but certainly not three.
Do you know, we get this all the time. People will point out that there's a new advert on TV. I think, was it someone like Morrison's did a Christmas advert which had talking socks in it? And, you know, the thing is, talking socks will always look about like us because we're talking socks. And if you've ever put your hand in a sock, you get that effect. I mean, we've got a little bit more of a structure to us. There is actually a structure to our mouths and our eyeballs, which need a bit of freshening up.
And that's us at the last
Thinking of it.
picture, the green room,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
cabaret. Just myself in the foreground there, you at the background. There's Sam Van Kempen, my producing partner, and Charmaine, whose name I can't remember, performing name, Suze McRae, Alison Ledbetter, Lois de Lagoon, and Sophia, and our wonderful tech, Rory. Maybe I should stop putting pictures with like 50 people in them and I wouldn't have to name everybody.
You've done better than I would ever do. It'd just be pictures of me and Maeve Boffy and I'd be, yeah, I've got nothing.
Yeah, you had one name to remember.
Very true.
Yeah. To be fair, she was quite small in the picture. You probably didn't see her at first. So that's it. That's the end of the slideshow. And it's been great to have you on. And we'll talk a wee bit more about what you're doing in the future after this slideshow.
Okie dokie, well, there you go. And that's a nice one to end with.
Yeah. All right, man. Cool. So we've looked at the past. Let's look at the future. What does it hold for you? What does it hold for me? Que sera, sera.
What it holds for us is doing more of what we do now. And we were really planning on taking our new show, which is called Post Office Scandal, the musical. That was the one that was going to come to Edinburgh this year. It's probably a bit of a blessing that we're not doing Post Office Scandal, the musical, because that story is a bit old now. But it was a year ago when that ITV story broke. And then we came up with Post Office Scandal, the musical, wrote the whole thing in a week. And everybody said, you can't do that. People have lost their lives and their livelihoods. Now they're all last year's thing. Nobody cares.
And it's the same people that said it as well.
We actually did Post Office Scandal musical just last week, so that's the second week of January. We performed Post Office Scandal musical, and it still went well. It went brilliantly. This was in Barton on Humber in Lincolnshire, but we've got one of the songs at the end which has got topical lines in, so we updated it, and we mentioned getting into a hot tub with Neil Gaiman. And well, that's it. You see, and I mentioned this online, and it's like, oh, too soon, too soon. Exactly the same as they'd been a year ago with the Post Office Scandal. You can't do that. And then the same with Neil Gaiman. 2 weeks' time, they won't care.
Actually, there's a time limit. And Neil Gaiman, I think, it's a weird one because there's only certain people know who he is.
Yeah.
Even though the Sandman's became quite popular. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope he has a thoroughly rotten time for the rest of his existence.
Well, the thing was, back in July, August was when we heard about it, because we listened to the original podcast on Tortoise Media, and we were going on about, and people were dismissing it. And they were saying, it's Rachel Johnson, not a proper journalist or something. And who would have thought more people read New York Magazine than listened to podcast? Because suddenly it's all serious now because it's in writing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of understand that. That's kind of what she gets for being Boris Johnson's sister. Like, I mean, just maybe don't let her report on important stuff anymore.
Well, there you go. Anyway, somebody this morning was really worried because they had a Neil Gaiman tattoo. This one here had a solution. All you have to do is trim the hair down slightly and tell them you've got a Harold Pinter tattoo. Now, that won't mean much to anybody, but kids at home, Google a picture of Harold Pinter and a picture of Neil Gaiman. They really do look so similar.
Well, I'm going to point out that I'm on the side of righteousness because I have a David Lynch tattoo.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I've got a tattoo of the Black Lodge on my left arm.
David Lynch tattoo. We've got no tattoos ourselves, but if we did, we'd probably. Who would you get?
Don't worry, I've got a Sharpie in my bag. I'll get
oh, well, that'll do it, yeah. I don't know, probably Shari Lewis and Lamb Chop, one for the kids there.
Because David Lynch was someone that we were actually sad to lose, unlike Neil Gaiman.
David Lynch was an absolute genius, an absolute joy. And his work will stand the test of time because it was weird when it was new. So it's weird, has stayed as weird as it always was.
Okay, well, I'm not one to judge. I'm literally sitting in a fringe venue in January talking to a pair of socks. So.
Do you know what, actually? If you've ever seen the film Eraserhead, which was David Lynch's first film, there's a talking sheep's head. And we have been literally compared to the talking head in Eraser. We've also been compared to that alien when it burst out of John Hurt's stomach. There's quite a few things where we could have got the gig if it would have been around.
That's some show ideas for you, like Eraserhead. Actually, I actually got a T-shirt for Christmas where it's Vince Clarke and Andy Bell, and it says Eraserhead.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, very good.
And and you can maybe do Alien Romulus, the musical.
Yeah, I don't know that many people have bothered with the later Aliens films.
Yeah. All right, Aliens versus.
Yeah, all I have to be told is that it's shit, and I realise that's 2 hours of my life I've saved. Probably 2.5 hours. Probably 2.5 hours. Yeah. Most superhero movies. People think that we're going to be big fans of superheroes because we've done a show called Superheroes, and the bloke down there used to work for Marvel Comics. But if someone tells us in advance it's shit, well, then we will never see it and never miss it.
What about Aliens versus Predator, and it's just you guys punching fuck out of Neil Gaiman?
Oh, very good. Very good. Did you see what I did there?
Yeah, or we could live cut like the guy's tattoo off for him. Like we're a Hell's Angels gang. But all right, man. So I'm going to get more gruesome if I keep talking.
Someone suggested the other day that comic company should have been called DC per Vertigo. Again, these are pretty arcane references, kids. If you've never heard of Vertigo Comics, which is what the Sandman used to be published as part of, then, just move on.
I never really bought Neil Gaiman's like stuff. I mean, I got that it was good. Like I liked 1602, but I did always think he was a bit of a prick, and I wasn't allowed to say it.
I remember in some magazine article years and years ago, Grant Morrison having a real go at Neil Gaiman, saying how much he'd used comics as a way to get into proper writing. And you used to see that. I used to notice this all the time with Sandman. It's like he'd put too many words in. It's like he's trying to write something that's not a comic book, but comic books is the way of getting into this. And, that's not really a criticism. It's just a particular style. I mean, yeah, nobody knew he was going to stick his finger up the au pair's bum at that point in time. But his particular style of writing was a particular style of comics that appealed to some people. I was reading other stuff other than that myself too.
But I get a feel. I had the feeling that you were meant to like him because he was like this leftist icon, and like obviously it's actions speak louder than words. Good. Speaking about Grant Morrison, he actually said in an interview once something about a creator that was taking advantage of goth fans, who I thought was Neil Gaiman at the time and definitely must be now. The reason
I don't know, because there's also Warren Ellis. I don't know how well we're doing on the libel front here, but a lot has been spoken about that.
Now you mentioned Warren Ellis. I mean,
a lot has been spoken about his fellow writer.
Yeah. Socks, you're going to get me into trouble. You're in a bit of trouble. We go back to Grant Morrison for a split second. That's my other tattoo, which is a symbol from Final Crisis with the words from All Star Superman. So all I'm saying is I've got tattoos are good people.
Fabulous. Very good. You've chosen well.
Yeah, and so I'm going to probably paint those exact tattoos on you guys after we finish.
That would suit us nicely.
So before we go, what have you got coming up? What do you want to tell us about?
Do you know we've got nothing particularly to plug? The Leicester Comedy Festival, second or third week of February, we will be performing Post Office Scandal the musical with extra added bits of new stuff. And then just look out for us during the year and we'll come up and surprise you.
And obviously we better go because as you can hear there's a massive room of people waiting for us to go and entertain them, me as a cool comic and you guys as Socks, because it's almost like the Fringe in here right now because it's loud.
It is a bit.
Thank you so much for coming on. You've been absolutely amazing. Hope to see you again very, very soon. Big massive thank you to the man downstairs, Kev.
Well, thank you for having us, Jimmy. Thank you,
guys, as always. It's nice to do something where you actually get to see his face today, despite his reservations about his own face. And cheers, thanks very much. See you soon.
Ready? Bye bye. Bye bye.